After Election Day and after the election of President-elect Donald Trump, a number of people in various states took to the streets to protest his election. Now, of course, a number of right-wingers are not too happy with the protests, so as a result, they have not only spoken out against it, but Republican state senators like Doug Ericksen have decided that maybe we need to pass laws that have harsher penalties for people who engage in these types of protests. Now, Doug Ericksen from Washington State sent out a press release announcing legislation to make economic terrorism a felony in the Evergreen State. So he is referring to these protests as economic terrorism. Because remember, this is right-wing 101. If something you don't like takes place, you immediately label it as terrorism. Now, the proposed bill would allow police to charge protesters who block transportation and commerce, cause property damage, threaten jobs, and put public safety at risk with a Class C felony. Similar charges would apply to those who fund, organize, sponsor such protests, and the bill would force such individuals to pay restitution up to triple the amount of economic damage done. So understand that a lot of people here at TYT are not in favor of protesters blocking traffic. You're already breaking laws that exist, and you shouldn't do that because let's say there's an ambulance, there's someone who needs to be rushed to the hospital. Blocking traffic is actually a gigantic safety concern. So I understand people who are upset at the vandalism, who are upset at individuals blocking traffic, but at the same time, what Doug Ericksen is proposing is a form of intimidation. It's a way to discourage people from participating in their First Amendment rights, from being part of any type of protest. And to label protesters as terrorists is beyond ridiculous.
So let's break this down further. So it depends on how you do the protest, by the way. So sometimes traffic is blocked, for example, when you cross the bridge in Selma, Alabama. Well, that was a bridge that could have had cars and you blocked the traffic, but the cops knew you were doing that. They had already cordoned it off. In Washington, if you block traffic in Washington, D.C., the cops immediately cordon the streets off. They're used to it, and they route you around. Now, if it's in a place where people aren't used to it and you're just stepping in the middle of a highway, please be careful. Please be careful. But anything old that he's referring to, hey, if you break the law and you're violent or you set a fire you weren't supposed to set, etc., that's already illegal.
Yes.
So there's no need for it. He is referring to things that are not already illegal. So he's saying, here, let me quote some of the things that he says are problematic. Marching through public areas. But that's literally constitutionally protected. You have every right to do that as an American citizen. And if he says, if you block transportation or commerce, but wait a minute. When the civil rights workers sat on the lunch counters, well, you could argue they were blocking commerce.
That's right.
Because, hey, they said for you to move out, you're black. You're not allowed to sit in the front. You're not allowed to sit at the counter. That's only for whites. And you're blocking me doing business from good white people with you being black and all and sitting at these counters. That's it. You're an economic terrorist. They would have called everyone who sat at those lunch counters an economic terrorist. He also says that you're an economic terrorist if you, quote, threaten jobs. Now, if you're a Native American protesting or you're an environmentalist protesting in North Dakota, what are they going to tell you? Oh, well, you're blocking the jobs of these good guys laying down pipe for the drilling. Well, you threaten a job, terrorist.
That's right.
So this would make almost every protest in America an act of economic terrorism. Now, another irony here. Remember, these are the same guys who just a couple of weeks ago thought that Donald Trump was going to lose. And we're talking about how they have to rise up against this crooked government and against the tyranny of that government. So they were ready to go in the streets. Imagine if Donald Trump had won the popular vote but lost the Electoral College.
Oh,
do you think they would have blocked traffic? Do you think they might have disrupted commerce for a little bit? They would have been all over the streets, right? And the Bundy boys with all their weapons that literally block traffic, they take over federal government property and said, they're not terrorists.
They're not terrorists.
They're not terrorists.
They threaten the lives of individuals while they're carrying their firearms, but they're not terrorists. They're not terrorists. By the way, let's talk a little bit about the types of penalties that people would pay if they were labeled economic terrorists under Doug Erickson's proposal. So first, let's do a little comparison. In Washington state, already intentionally interfering with or obstructing pedestrian or vehicle traffic can result in a misdemeanor punishable by a fine of up to $1,000 and or imprisonment up to 90 days. Under Erickson's proposal to make these activities a Class C felony, the same activity could result in 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine.
Okay, see, once you start putting people in prison for 5 years for political protests that aren't on your side, you love the political protests on your side. The Tea Party, I guarantee you, Erickson celebrated the Tea Party. When they were protesting all over, and sometimes when they'd bring weapons, good Americans, patriots. Oh, my political opponents, I'd like to put you in prison for 5 years. Well, that's a gulag. Now, look, he's in the state of Washington. There's a Democratic governor there, and one of the houses is Democratic. So this won't pass. But this is basically him saying, hey, here's a suggestion on the national level. And all of you Republicans, and the Republicans control 69 out of 99 legislatures at the state level. He's saying, I can't do this in Washington, but I'm putting you on notice. Maybe all the Republican legislatures in the states and at the national level, let's just start imprisoning our political opponents. And by the way, who does Ericksen work for? Funny enough, it turns out that he was, in 2013, the biggest beneficiary of lobbyist expense accounts in the state of Washington. In the first 4 months, every other day he went on either a golfing trip, a meal, or other drinks or other expenses paid by lobbyists. So this guy, who's paid off by multinational corporations, then turns around and says, if you ever dare protest my beloved corporations, I will call you a terrorist. We told you they would abuse the word, and here it is. It's not just national security anymore, now it's economic terrorism, and what is it used for? As an excuse to imprison their political opponents. Welcome to Donald Trump's America. It's only been, what, 9 days. It hasn't even been 10 days yet. And look at these proposals that are flying around. Brace for impact. Podcast the whole 2-hour Young Turks every single day, commercial-free. All-Star Tuesdays, Aggressive Progressives, Old School, Post Games, TYT Classics. You get it all with membership. Do it now. tytnetwork.com/join.